Thank you, Mr. Karya, for joining us, and welcome to the Global Business Summit. I want to begin by asking you, the government has set a very ambitious target of 24/7 power to all. So what kind of role do you think, and the need to depend on renewable energy will be there now to kind of meet that demand?
So first of all, I would like to say that power for all 24/7 is not an ambitious target. It is a belated target. We are 70 years too late. We should have done this a long ago. Yes, renewable energy is going to play a very huge role in terms of providing electricity to all, especially affordable electricity, because India is a vast country and we have a population spread over a vast region where sometimes the terrain, sometimes the quantity of population becomes difficult to reach in terms of a grid. So off-grid solutions, especially renewable energy solutions, are going to be the future for providing electricity to all such people. And the advantage of renewable energy is such that once you do the capex, then you don't have a recurring cost. So there is no need to go back to the people to collect money on a monthly basis, and there is no such administrative or recurring cost that is incurred.
So then, are you saying that it is imperative for players like yourself and other companies in that field to invest in renewable energy if you need to grow and expand?
So I would say that the need to invest in renewable energy is definitely there. Whether the person wants to invest in setting up of the plant and supplying electricity to these villages is one part that I believe socially and sociologically might be the responsibility of the government. But for players like us, I would say that to give the latest products, to supply the latest technologies, and to ensure that we are able to supply clean, reliable and affordable electricity. Therefore, I would say that all stakeholders, whether they be product manufacturers, EPC contractors, or even the utilities, need to integrate themselves into this system where everybody is supplied with electricity.
So is innovation in that segment going to be a key driver if you have to remain ahead of the curve and have a competitive edge?
As far as products go, you cannot have a different product, because here on one side you are talking, and I am a very strong proponent of commoditization of electricity. Why should an electricity cost more in a certain part of the country and cost less somewhere else? So it's essential that we talk of commoditization of electricity, and for commoditization you have to also talk of standardization. So one is standardization of products would be required, but at the same time you would have to be innovative, because now this sector is not filled with products, because unfortunately today in our country indigenous products are not yet being used in a very big way in the renewable energy segment because of cheap imports, and there is zero duty on imports for solar.
So we're reading somewhere that the solar tariffs have reached a record low of 2.97 a unit, and at the Rewa Solar Park auction. So do you think with such low bids, are such low bids feasible in the long run?
I think India is setting a new trend in terms of low solar tariffs and prices, and we are one of the largest countries where the solar capacities that are going to be installed are huge, and I think that's what is very attractive to the investors, and they see on the horizon, they see a huge capacity coming in which was not there. So once you talk of capacities, when you are talking of a struggling world economy, especially the Chinese economy where they are flooded with overcapacities, India could be a major beneficiary out of such world market forces being at its lowest in terms of demand at the moment.
So if I may ask you, what are the challenges you think currently the energy and the electrical sector faces And how do you see the sector growing in the next, let's say, 4 to 5 years?
I think to free up this segment, the government would have to invite innovation, encourage innovation. That's what I would like to see the government doing. I would like to see the government moving away from regulation of the segment in terms of at least providing duty free certificates, etc., because I see no reason why this segment should be regulated. All other segments, you get your depreciation benefits or you get your duty free benefits based on your invoice, and I think if you have to encourage this segment, you need to do this. And what I would like to see is the government providing depreciation benefits to individuals for setting up solar plants, and if that happens, you will see a lot of it coming up on rooftops, and that could lead to a lot of recalibration of the way electricity is being used and also transmitted in India. Personally, I feel that this segment is poised for massive growth in the next few years' time, and I would also say that fortunately we have, after many decades, we have a good set of people at the center who understand the problems, who understand how to solve these issues. So, you would see a lot of movement in this field, and then coupled with new innovations that are happening across the world, we will see that this sector is very, very exciting, because we are forgetting one very big major thing that is happening, and that is electromobility. So, I think that's electromobility is going to really change the scenario, and is going to generate a lot of employment, as well as generate a lot of clean energy, as well as generate a lot of earning opportunities for a lot of people, even if they are not drivers.
But do you think it's too soon for something like this? I mean, is our base set, our infrastructure set for something like electromobility?
Look at it this way, that if you look at Germany, and they've got a huge population of fossil fuel cars, so they would have to dismantle or get rid of their fossil fuel cars to replace them with electric cars. Here in India, most of our population does not own vehicles. So, their first vehicle, if it is an electric vehicle, we have very little to replace. So, I think in that way we are at the cusp of a huge opportunity.
So, even on the rural India front, it is witnessing increased electrification, and there is electricity reaching to far-fetched villages which perhaps didn't have any access to that a few years back. What opportunities do you see for companies like yours, to kind of expand in the rural hinterland and get them access to electricity?
For companies like ours to enter the rural segments, they are actually virgin markets, untapped, and therein lies a opportunity to have a market without the intense competition that is there across the urban markets. Plus, in terms of entrepreneurship, and we have almost 1 million people and 1 million new jobs being created every month, and if we provide electricity to all these villages in the remotest of areas, we would see huge amount of manufacturing or at least entrepreneurship coming up in these rural areas, which would act as a market for factories such as ours, the industry.
Development, basically.
And therefore, you would see the market growing exponentially.
I want to ask you lastly, how is your experience being at the Global Business Summit? You've been associated with it.
So, I think GBS provides a platform for meeting up with a lot of people and getting a lot of knowledge of technological advancements, as well as even unrelated fields, and therefore opens up your mind to a lot of business opportunities and areas which one had not thought of before. So from that perspective, I think it's an excellent business opportunity to meet a lot of people and see how you can grow your business.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Karya, for joining us. Pleasure.
Thank you.
talking to
My pleasure. We are here to talk about New India and electricity, the inflection point of New India. 4 years ago, I stuck my neck out during an Economic Times Power Summit, and I said that it was not about fuel linkages that the entire industry was talking about. But I said what was required was distribution reforms. Today, I stick my neck out again and say that though the problems of distribution and to a certain extent transmission remain, it is no longer, for me, an area of concern. It would get sorted out. For me, the area of concern would be innovation and production. The electrical industry is approaching, or maybe has approached, an inflection point. Key reasons are digital transformation of power and technology, new developments in energy storage, the industrial internet and the IIoT, and the push towards electromobility. These factors will impact the entire electricity value chain, and companies in this value chain will have to actively transform themselves, as maintenance of a status quo would lead to a dissonance gap and these industries would soon be irrelevant. Hence, the entire electrical industry, and especially the Indian electrical industry, would have to re-strategize its future and get a much sharper edge in terms of smarter products, systems, and solutions. Before I end, just imagine, India today imports about 70 to maybe $100 billion worth of oil. We import fuels. We've got so many fossil fuels. If tomorrow we are able to generate electricity through renewable sources, can we imagine what would happen to our foreign exchange situation and what would happen to the India of tomorrow? Ponder over this, hear the experts, and do keep engaged with the industry. Thank you very much.
Welcome to all of you. Electricity is a very mature subject, more than 130 years now. Largely been seen as an important part of improving quality of life, but it's changing its format now. At the end of the day, we are not a fossil fuel enriched country, and in our energy bouquet or energy basket, the more electricity can occupy a role, strategically it is safer for India. And if that energy can come out from renewable sources more and more, it's also environmentally better for India. So I think there's a lot of things that we can show the world about how to do this, because willy-nilly we've become the lowest renewable energy priced nation in the world. The other aspect of it is something that we all talk about, electric mobility. In the Indian context, we already have about 180 million vehicles on road. These are going to double in the next 7 or 8 years. And we will consume a very, very large quantity of petroleum fuel for this. So if you start connecting up renewable energy, sustainability, electric mobility, energy storage, which is the new kid on the block, whose prices are also expected to start declining at a faster rate than what they have declined in the past, we are looking at very new opportunities in terms of the environment, renewable energy, electricity for all, electric mobility, and so on. In many ways, India can show the way going forward on these things.
Hello everyone, I'm from IBM Research. So you might be wondering what a person from IBM is doing in a power panel. I just wanted to mention a couple of points. In the world of solar, IBM Research was the place where some of the earliest solar cells were developed, as well as several other innovations in concentrated solar as well. And we do a lot of work in areas such as smart grid and so on. Just a couple of points I want to mention. So the transformation that's happening in the electric sector worldwide is similar to the change that happened in the telecom world when you moved from the telephony to the internet. And a key driver for that was the ability to what they call packetize digital communications and then store it for some time and then transfer it further. What we're seeing here is a similar transformation through energy storage, through software-defined techniques such as demand response and so on in the electricity sector.
I'm from the International Finance Corporation, IFC, part of the World Bank Group. We actually have been very early investors in the renewable energy space in India, globally as well. Sort of a grid parity has been achieved in India, which essentially means there could be a potential tipping point in solar becoming a fuel of choice. And this was not the perception so far, which was really that solar, for that matter, many other renewable energy sources were more costly sources of power. And in that, frankly, there's a big appreciation to be done of how the government has really sort of ended up making the market. As markets are asserting themselves, the technical possibilities are immense out there. The governments are rising up to meet that challenge, and that really is how do we replicate all this transactional experience into market making, which unleashes the type of innovations that was being spoken of. Thank you.
I do agree that the optics are there now, but I think there is more important factor which has been discussed out there. Are we looking for optics, or we are looking for sustainable energy, or we are looking for renewable energy, or a combination of all the three? It's phenomenal if you see in last 2 years how the renewable power is now competing with the thermal power. But I think, in my view, there was no race. There was no race that one has to beat the other. The both has to provide energy to the country and to the society in which we work. And now we have solutions where they are at par. I won't say competing, but I think both are at par. And in this country, since we are developing now, there are opportunities and technologies available in which we should invest so that this distributed generation, whether it is automobile distributed generations required for automobile sector, and I have heard Honorable Minister saying on many occasions that by 2030, they would like to see reductions in a lot of diesel or petrol-driven cars. And they required power, which is distributed power. So I think we need storage solutions specific for this country rather than lead adopting from somewhere outside. So in my view, we need to work towards solutions which are specific to this country.
So I work for IEEE Standards Association. IEEE has a couple of interesting activities when it comes to particularly the transportation segment. And it's quite interesting. On one side, we have a society called Intelligent Transportation. And there we are looking at how we can build intelligence, like, whether we are talking about vehicle to vehicle or vehicle to infrastructure kind of protocols. And then we have transportation electrification, the classic case of how we move away from the current generation mode of transport to the Teslas and the Mahindra Rivas and whatever that is going to come up next. And I feel that all this is changing some of the games, like previously we had very traditional verticals. We had a power utility, then we had a ICT vertical, or rather a IT vertical, a OT vertical. But in the space of what we call as Internet of Things, we are really merging all these into a single framework.
I think we must have our objectives very clear. I would like to speak from the Ministry of Power side. We feel that access to reliable and affordable power is just like a right which everybody must have. When we talk of all these IT and IoT coming into the electricity sector, we have to take notice of the fact that still more than 5 crore households are without power in the country. So providing access to those households at the cheapest affordable power, as well as looking at the legacy issues, where on one side I have 30,000 of thermal capacity stranded for want of demand, and meeting my commitment of energy security and global commitments towards climate change in terms of promoting 175 gigawatt of renewable energy by the year 2022, we have to have a very fine balance as far as the policy is concerned.
When it comes to policy, it's very important to understand where the industry stands and design the policy in such a way that industry is comfortable, and our own goals as government of encouraging renewables, encouraging clean energy, and also bringing down the costs. Both goals are satisfied at the same time. When you think about it, the Green Energy Corridor project is talking about creating transmission in a place where today there is no source. Nobody knows where that source is going to come from, who's going to invest there. So it was a very bold thing for the government to do that. It was flying in the face of all the kind of regulations that would exist, that you create transmission when there is a power source. So, the learning that comes out from it is that similarly we need to, in the case of EVs and in the case of energy storage, we haven't yet got to that stage. We are trying to get there. We are trying, all of us are together trying to get there. That's all I can think of saying right now. Thank you.
I think the sum and substance where we started off is electricity the new inflection point of India, or is electricity the inflection point of the new India? To my mind, the assertive answer is an emphatic yes, it is. This sector, which has been hitherto a much neglected sector, is now looking to be a very exciting sector to be in. And as more and more technology is coming, as more and more emphasis on the environment comes in, we will see a convergence of the utilities. And I, for one, look forward to that very keenly in the next few years. And I'm sure if the way the rapid progress is being made in the field of electricity, I'm sure that day is not too far. Thank you.